نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Respected participants, today we are studying or trying to understand verse number 5 from chapter Al-Hajj, meaning pilgrimage. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind or O people, in kuntum fi raib, if you are in any kind of doubt, min al-ba'th, about resurrection, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ, then know it, that we created you min turab, from dust, summa min nutfa, then from a droplet, summa min alaka, then from a clinking clot, summa min mudga, then from a lump of flesh, mukhallakatin wa ghayra mukhalla, partly shaped and partly unshaped or undifferentiated. وَلِنُبَيِّنَ لَكُمْ, so that we make things clear to you about our creative powers. وَنُكِّرُ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, and we settle in the wombs, مَا نَشَاءُ, what we will, إِلَى أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى, till a prescribed or appointed time. ثُمَّ نُخْرِجُكُمْ طِفْلًا, then we bring you out to this world as babies. ثُمَّ لِتَبْلُغُوا أَشُدَّكُمْ, then we nurture you till you attain age of maturity. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُتَوَفَّى, and amongst you are some who die during this period. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُرَدُّ إِلَىٰ أَرْضِ الْأُمَرِ, and some of you are returned to abject old age. لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمْ, so that they know nothing. مِنْ بَعْدِ إِلْمٍ شَيْئًا, after knowing everything. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. We stop here, this just one first part of this chapter, verse number 5. I repeat the translation for the benefit of our listeners and viewers. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I repeat, this is verse number 5, chapter Al-Hajj. And I request my viewers to hold a copy of Qur'an before them, of course without translation, and concentrate and focus their attention to words and the letters of this verse number 5 of chapter Al-Hajj. Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, in kuntum fi raib, if you are in any kind of doubt, min al-bas, regarding the resurrection, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ تُرَابٍ, then no, remember that we created you from dust, summa min nutfa, then from a droplet, summa min alaka, then from a clinging clot or leech-like thing, summa min mudga, then from a lump of flesh, mukhallakatin wa ghayra mukhallaka, partly shaped and partly unshaped or undifferentiated. لِنُبَيِّنَ لَكُمْ, so that we make clear to you our creative powers. وَنُكِّرُ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ, and we establish or settle in the wombs, مَا نَشَاءُ, what we will, إِلَى أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى, till an appointed time. ثُمَّ نُخْرِجُكُمْ طِفْلًا, then we bring you out to this world as babies. ثُمَّ لِتَبْلُغُوا أَشُدَّكُمْ, and then we nurture you till you attain the age of maturity. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُتَوَفَّى, and amongst you are some whom we cause to die. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُرَدُّ, and some of you we return إِلَى أَرْضِ الْأُمَرِ, towards abject old age. لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمْ, so that they know nothing. مِنْ بَعْدِ إِلْمٍ شَيْئًا, after having the knowledge. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. As I told you earlier, that this verse talks about the microscopic dimension of the creative powers of Almighty Allah. In the preceding chapter, that's Al-Anbiya, there we could see and feel and visualize the telescopic dimension of the creative powers. About verse number 30, we talked about the origin of universe. أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. Don't these disbelievers ever think or ponder that there was a time when all these heavens and earth were put together as a single unit. Then we parted it asunder and started the systematic creation of universe. That was the telescopic observation. And not only that, then about the fate of this universe we studied in verse number 104 in chapter Al-Media. That talks about the fate of the universe. يَوْمَ نَطْوِي السَّمَاءَ كَطَيِّ السِّجْلِ الْكُتُبِ كَمَا بَدَانَا أَوَّلَ خَلْقٍ نُعِيدُهُ وَعْدًا عَلَيْنَا إِنَّا كُنَّا فَاعِلِينَ. A day is going to come sooner or later when we shall roll back this whole cosmic system like a scroll. And then we shall repeat the process of creation the way we started it in the first instance. This is promised with us, and we are going to fulfill it, and we are going to do it. That was a telescopic view. And this chapter, Al-Hajj, starts from verse number 5, in fact, talks about the microscopic dimension of the creation. Very important, very essential. But here again, I have tried, generally what is our feelings? Feelings of common man, or even those people who read Qur'an, understand Qur'an, or even who are associated with medical sciences like embryology and really neonatology, prenatal development, and all this stuff. There's some misconception regarding that. Generally, our feeling is that creation of human being starts from that day, from the time when a woman conceives baby, when there is the fertilization of an ovum by a sperm, and it results in formation of zygote or a fertilized egg, and it starts the systematic creation of human being. But what Quran tells us, and now what we can feel and understand, this is only the second phase of the creation. In fact, creation of human beings starts the time when a seed is sown in the soil. Any kind of seed. Generally we have three categories. We have cereals like wheat, maize, barley, oats, rice. Our vegetables, we have a lot of vegetables which we consume, green vegetables for our development and growth. This is the second kind of things we get from our dust or soil. And third thing is the fruits like apple, pears, banana and orange and mangoes and all kinds of fruits. Whatever seed is sown, whenever a seed is sown in the soil, it is in fact from there that the creation of human beings starts. That's what this verse also talks about. It is not only in this verse, this is repeated in Quran. Here Al-Quran says, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, in kuntum fi raib, if you are in any kind of doubt, minal bas, about resurrection, that you will be dead one day, and then all the human beings will be brought back to life. If you have any kind of doubt regarding it, then remember, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ, we created you, or we are creating you from dust. You should remember, it is plural. It's not regarding the creation of Adam. The Quran talks about that the first man, first human being on earth, that's Adam, our father, was created out of dust. But at times and many places in Quran, as here, Quran use the word plural. In فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم, that we have created you, or we are creating all of you humans from dust. And surprisingly, I was really sure when I tried to learn all these facts from Quran, as I have been telling you, that I have been a student of biosciences. This has been, I have been a humble student. But God, Allah is witness, and Quran is witness, that many facts about life sciences I have learned from Quran, which I was not in a position to learn in my normal study, in my research and studying my regular subject as life science subjects. It is Quran which gave me some insight to understand the reality behind everything. And this is one of the phenomena. I was surprised when I found in chapter Nuh, verse number 17, when Quran talks about Wallahu anbatakum min al-ardi nabata. It's surprising. I was really thunderstruck. It was a shock, of course a pleasant shock. When Quran talks, Surah Nuh, I repeat, verse number 17, you can check from your copies of Quran, any kind of translation you have with you. Wallah, and it's Allah. Anbatakum, O people, who grows you. Wallahu anbatakum min al-ardi, from earth, nabata, in a wondrous way. The way Quran talks about that we grow vegetation from earth, Quran says that we grow you, O humans, from earth. So that's what it's mentioned here also. فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ, we created you, or we are creating you from dust. It's not only that Quran talks about creation of Adam from dust. Since then, all the humans have, Allah has been creating, is creating at the moment. And even while we are staying here, our growth is continuing, and that's from dust, that's from earth. And all the humans who are going to come till doomsday, they'll be created out of dust. Quran talks about it again in chapter Al-Mu'minun, which is just following chapter from after we complete chapter Al-Hajj. It's verse number 12. Well, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. And certainly we خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ, man, that man includes Adam as well as all the humans, including our people, مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ, from dust, from the extract of, sulala means extract, from the extract of dust we create human beings. We have created you, or humans. So that's why I have split this verse into two parts. Number one, the first phase, and the second phase. Second phase is quite clear, we know it. But first phase, we have some confusion about that. As I told you about, Quran talks, says that creation of man starts from the time when we see a seed sown. What for seeds are sown? It is simply to provide man his food and all the ingredients he needs for growth, for development, and for reproduction. Simple things. Quran gives this as an evidence for the recreation or the resurrection, day of resurrection. See, once a seed is sown in soil, it has, though, of course, some stored food in it, in its embryo, but it needs some ingredients for growth. When you see a seed, so immediately what happens, it needs some warmth, but not direct heat. As a newborn baby needs an optimum temperature for the sustenance. But it's not like that. If we expose that baby before a burning stove, or an electric heater, or a gas stove, he'll be roasted alive. What we do normally, that we put the baby in a blanket, and in the corner of the room, we use some electric or gas stove, so that there's some temperature, optimum temperature is needed for this. And the same thing happens when we see a seed is sown. It needs temperature, but not an optimum temperature, but not direct heat. And the only source of temperature, energy, in this part of the universe is sun, where from we get, which sun, what we call now thermonuclear furnace, having high temperatures, temperature going to millions of degrees of centigrade. And it is from there we receive the heat. And when we see a seed, so a seed is a blanket of soil or dust over it. The soil gets warmth, and through this blanket of soil, the seed receives the temperature necessary for its growth. It needs water. And sources of water are nothing but great water bodies, oceans and seas, which are hundreds and thousands of kilometers away. But not only that, it needs that ocean water, but it needs the purest form of water. Saline water, or water contaminated with suspended or dissolved impurities, is quite dangerous for growing seed and this earth. So how does it happen? We see, Quran talks about it. Quran talks clearly, and we know now that what happens, that this thermonuclear furnace, 150 million kilometers away from Earth, that's what we call in Indian language 15 crore kilometers. And it provides enough heat and energy which makes these ocean waters to boil, and vapors come up, which is purest form, and all the impurities, whether suspended or dissolved, remain in the oceans and water bodies. Vapors go up, but they can't go up for infinite space or infinite period of time. But there's a limit to it. We say higher we go, the cooler it is. Reaching a particular space or level, it stops. It starts freezing. So there's boiling, evaporation, and then there's condensation. These vapors get condensed into clouds. And according to Quran, clouds are being carried away by blowing winds to different parts of the world. And when they reach a particular height, after condensation, we see there's precipitation. It is, incidentally, it is in Quran. The words I'm using, it is from Quran. I've derived these words. It's not that I'm trying to manipulate or mix up the two things. It is in Quran. There is precipitation. And we see droplets falling from that clouds, which reach the seed which we have sown. And this is the purest form of water, because this is the product of distillation. What we study in our chemistry, physics, and modern sciences, this is distillation. That we get purest form of water. Incidentally, man didn't know that rainwater is the purest form of water, but Quran talks about it 1400 years back. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. That we send down from heavens the purest, ma'an tahura, the purest form of water. And today we know the biggest distillation plant is earth itself, where there is distillation process, and the purest form of water falls because seeds need it. This is seed. It receives heat from earth, sun, then water from the water bodies, and in that too in the purest form. And it needs something more also, some minerals for sustenance, and that minerals are provided by earth itself. And it needs some help, because it's a growing baby. It cannot eat food of its own. What's it? There are agencies which we don't know, which we can't normally see with our naked eye. And that there's hundreds and thousands and millions of microorganisms within the soil, whether they are protozoans or certain beneficial bacteria. We start working as soon as seed is sown, and they provide this seed, sprouting seed, all the ingredients which are needed by whom? By man. As I told, because this food is being provided for man, human being, for the creation of human being. Quran says, if you are in any kind of doubt regarding the day of resurrection, then know it, that we created you min turab, from dust. And these are the minerals, and the seed sprouts. It goes up and produces the first leaves, and then there's again an action. That sunlight falls on those growing leaves. Green leaves are the only things, only objects in this whole world which have the power to absorb, assimilate this solar energy, which they emit, this radiant energy, what we call, and they immediately convert it through their chloroplasts, that chlorophyll pigment they have. They absorb it, assimilate it, and immediately convert it, this radiant energy, into chemical energy. And what for is it used? That water which is absorbed through the roots, through a special process, what we call osmosis, or water which goes up from soil through xylem vessels. As we have arteries and veins in human beings, so we have these arteries, veins in plants also, what we call xylem and phloem. And it is through the water goes up. Firstly, this is a great thing, that when a seed is sown, it starts sprouting. Two small minor branches come out of the seed in the first instance. First is pilumule, we call it. It goes up. It goes up, whereas the other part is the radical, which forms the first root. And that root goes down in the soil. And then it starts absorbing through root here. A second is roots, it starts absorbing water from us. That's okay. But the minor thing, a small leaflet type thing, which goes up, we don't understand its significance. That how is it? A small leaflet, so delicate that if we touch it just with our fingertip, it will be rotten, it will be finished, it will be destroyed. How it comes up is not an ordinary thing. This is the greatest miracles and creative powers of Allah the Almighty. That we know from all the standards, the greatest law which has been established beyond doubt, which was discovered by Newton around 300 years back and which stands good now, that there's a power of what called gravitational force, which attracts everything, pulls everything towards it. That's how we are on Earth. Otherwise, we would have been blown away. It's how this pillimule, when it goes up, it fights that gravitational force. A small, delicate thing fights against, not only fights against its gravity, but it defeats gravity. It defeats this greatest force of Earth when it goes up. It's not an ordinary thing, which Quran draws our attention to. And then I told you, the leaves come out, sunlight falls in radiant energy, only green leaves. No human being can convert radiant energy into chemical energy. It's not possible for all human beings put together. Because sunlight also falls on our body. We cannot trap it. It can only activate certain cells of our body, skin, which can generate vitamin D. It's not that vitamin D. Generally, people feel this sunlight contains vitamin D. There's nothing like that. The sunlight only activates certain cells within our skin, which produce vitamin D. Okay, otherwise, it's only these green leaves. And water from the soil, which goes up, which is called ascent of sap, that's also a miracle of the miracles. It took scientists, biologists, and this 100 years to understand how this water goes up. When gravity and earth pulls everything down, how it goes up. It took at least 100 years. Many theories were put forward. It was ultimately a Nobel Prize winner, a scientist from India in 1920s, who proved it, and that was established how this ascent of sap, how this water goes up. And this water reaches the leaf, and this leaf has the power, having small pores, minute microscopic pores on the underside of the leaf, which traps carbon dioxide from atmosphere. And then we have in the leaf water from soil and carbon dioxide from atmosphere. And then we have the radiant energy, which has been converted into chemical energy. And that energy is used to mix up water and this carbon dioxide to produce the glucose or carbohydrate food, what we call photosynthesis process. 6 times CO2 plus 6 times H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6 times oxygen. It also generates oxygen for human consumption. And where from the carbon dioxide comes, which is trapped by the leaves, where from that comes? It is from humans and animals, because we absorb, we utilize, or we inhale oxygen from this atmosphere. The atmosphere, it is to be, we have to think about everything. This atmosphere which is around Earth, it is 78% nitrogen, 78% and 21% oxygen, and just traces of other gases. If it would have been other way around, what would have been the position of this Earth? No, then we would not have been here to discuss all these matters, nor any human being anywhere. So this is, we are providing carbon dioxide, which is trapped by these leaves, and not only trapped, it is being used to generate food for us. And not only food, as a byproduct, it gives out oxygen. The carbon dioxide, food for the leaves and plants, oxygen which they throw out as byproduct after manufacturing this food through the process of photosynthesis. It is being utilized by animals and including human beings, for their normal life and life growth. That's oxygen we need. We cannot live without that. So this is how food is produced. So from seed passing through different stages. And finally, we see leaves, then we see flowers, and ultimately we see fruits, which are being eaten by us, by humans. Either we eat, because it is for we people. We eat it, vegetables, cereals, and I told you fruits, everything. We use it as food. And all the ingredients of soil, assimilated, joined together in the form, we know, it's through vegetables we get mostly vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, and then minerals like potassium and iron and other minerals we get. And from certain vegetables which can take iron, as I told you, to use palak in this part of the world and other green vegetables. Then they can produce some amount of proteins also through pulses, through soybeans, which we use for human consumption. And fruits also produce. And this fruit, all the three kinds of food products are being consumed because they are being produced for human being. Why? Because human being is to be produced from turab, from dust. Because these are the final products we get. Otherwise, the soil contains everything we need. There would have been a way of getting it, that at the end of the day, in our dinner, we'd get a big plate as we take, instead of rice or wheat or vegetables or fruits, we could have taken directly some soil and clay, mix water in and start eating it. What would have been our concern? Somebody would ask her, what are you doing? You are turned mad. I would tell them, because I know I need iron, I need potassium, I need proteins, I need some calcium and some trace of aluminum, everything I need. Human beings need aluminum also. In our body there's aluminum. All the things metals which we see in the periodic table, 122 or more now, it's in our body because we need it. It would have come directly, or what would have been our fate? But what kind of agency? This is divine agency, which gives us all these things, but in the purest and best possible manner, which our body needs and which is easily assimilated by our body. We take this food either directly or indirectly. Indirectly, the same vegetation is being consumed as food by animal folk, by cattle, the sheep, goat, camels, or oxes and cows and all that, beef, and we use. It is this food chain which reaches finally us, and we grow. At the time we are growing, where from we get all the food? We eat the food. It is being chewed by our mouth, with the help of our teeth, then crushed, then it reaches our stomach, where it is grinded. It is ground to that minor, that fluid-like thing. And in the small intestines, it is being assimilated and absorbed and comes in our blood supply. And through that blood supply, whatever our part needs, it gets it. If the bones and joints need calcium, we have calcium carbonate which is deposited. If our eyes needs, I'm sorry, is it vitamin E or A? A. Our eyes need vitamin A for normal growth. It is deposited in our eyes. We need iron, because without iron we cannot live. Iron is the basic ingredient of hemoglobin. That's blood. It is deposited in our blood. It's through this itself. Every part of our body gets enough food and we grow. And that's what Quran talks about. And then imagine, this is the first phase of creation. And it is for this, we human body, which we will discuss in the second part of the phase of what I call second phase. This is the first phase. And then when everything reaches our body grows, it develops. Our organs, our cells, our tissues, our eyesight, our strength, our mind, even our cerebellum, all the neurons are derived from soil. If we don't eat, our mind will not work. So it is in our body. Which body? Which starts in embryonic stage from a single cell. A sperm and egg fuse with each other. I'll not talk about detail, I'm just mentioning the first phase. They join together. They are of microscopic dimension, which we cannot see. Neither egg nor sperm can be seen by naked eye. It's so minute. In fact, sperm is 1/600th part of an inch, whereas egg or ovum is slightly bigger, 1/200th part of an inch. So they fuse together to form again a single cell, that is zygote. So human development starts from a single cell, fertilized egg. And see, it grows in the wombs of the mothers. And we see at the time of delivery, when a baby is delivered, you know how many cells it's composed of? It is around 20 inches long, having 200 billion cells. And then after birth, growth starts. As Quran says here, we nurture you to attain maturity. At a mature age, an adult human being is composed of, please correct me, you're the zoologist, if I err somewhere, you please keep it proper attention. A normal human being, we know, it is composed of, how many cells? 50 trillion cells. 50 trillion. That 1 trillion means 1,000 billion. So we are composed of 50,000 billion cells, and of which our hands, or external organs, all the organs, and interior organs are composed of all this. And every cell, how we are human, now it comes a part what I want to emphasize, because from here, second phase starts now. That our body is composed of 50 trillion cells, and cells continuously divide. Old cells are shed, and new cells are created. That's what's growth all about. We grow. There's degeneration, but simultaneously there's regeneration of cells. Old cells degenerating, new cells being formed. If, for example, just to make things simple, if we degenerate, hundreds of our cells are degenerated, 200 cells are produced. That means we grow. It goes up to a time where Quran talks in this verse too, when you become adult and mature age. Then there's a stage, arzal al-umr, where reduced to old age and abject old age. What's that? That's in fact that their degeneration overtakes regeneration. More cells degenerate rather than they regenerate, and there's return to that feeble age. So how we are humans? Here we have to remember how, why, what determines any species in the world. We have an expert here. It's the chromosome number which determines, is it? It's chromosome number which determines what we are. Every plant, which is a living thing, or any animal, it's in its cells, of which were composed of 50 trillion cells, 50,000 billion cells. Every cell internally has many organs. The most important is nucleus. And within the nucleus, we have chromosomes. How we are humans, you should remember, because we have 46 chromosomes in our cells, 46. That makes us human. Otherwise, we would have anything else. We're humans. Imagine cells divide constantly. 50 old cells degenerate, new cells form, and it is by mitotic division. Is it? It's mitosis. That every new created cell divides normally. That every new cell has 46 chromosomes. That's how we are humans. Old cells die and new cells produce. Every new cell has 46 chromosomes in all our 50 trillion cells. But how come? Is there anybody who can give an explanation for that? But there is only a part in the human body. In males, testicles, and within that, what happens? These cells divide, but these cells divide meiotically, what we call supermatogenesis. It's only this place in men, in males, the cells, germ cells, we call them germ cells. These are somatic cells. They divide mitotically. But only germ cells, reproductive cells, they divide meiotically. That means every sperm which is produced meiotically means reducing the number, halving the number of chromosomes. So every sperm which is produced in our testicles, it has only 23. 23 instead of 46 in normal cells. Why? Why there only? Why not in my hands? Why not in my limbs? Why not in my heart and kidneys? It happens only there. Same is true to the body of a female, which in addition to other sex organs, a special organ inside, that is ovary. And this blood supply, which everything we get from where? Soil. I talked about from plants we get everything, either directly through vegetarian food or non-veg food indirectly from this animal food, but that's also indirect, the same thing we get. And it is everything produced from that. Even the blood is produced from that, and the cells in our spermatozoa, which are responsible for supermatogenesis, for the production of sperm, that's also examines a sperm, chemical analysis of sperm. What's this? It will compose this calcium, sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, iodine, carbons, all this, nothing more than that. Similarly, in the body of a woman, we have a special organ called ovary. All cells of a woman divide mitotically, all cells producing the same number, 46 chromosomes. But in ovaries, well, the production of germ cells, that is ova or eggs, again, a reduction number. The eggs produced in the body of an ovary of a female, all the eggs have only 23 chromosomes. Why? Because human being is to be produced. If there would have been 46 chromosomes, mitotic division in sperm and eggs for the formation of sperm, then union would have resulted in the production of
when two fixed sperm and egg fuses, there would have been 92 chromosomes. I don't know what is that. What does 92 chromosomes? That will be some ghosts. I don't know what. But why? How is it that we get only 23 chromosomes in male cells, that's sperms, and 23 chromosomes number in ova? From here, because they fuse, they form again a cell which is 46. Why 46? Because we have human beings are to be created. Where from? Khalaqna min turab. This process has started in the first phase, that is started from the soil. That's it. Then Quran talks about the second phase. How is it? Which has just started, I know it's told you, now sperm and eggs are produced. A human, a male, is quite generous in this. A man is quite generous because in every ejaculation, a male can produce around 200 million sperms in just one ejaculation, which is of the volume of a teaspoon, around 200 million sperms. Whereas a woman is very miser in this respect. It can produce a single egg in every month, one egg per month. That means, if we calculate it, though at the birth, when a female baby is born, there are thousands of immature eggs in the body. But by and by they degenerate. And when a woman attains puberty, that she's mature, there are only, at that mature age is generally fertile age for a woman, though male has no such limitations. Women have a limitation, that they act as limiting force in the creative process, and divinely directed, of course. We have around 30 years of fertile age in a woman. There may be minor variation, 1 or 2 years. That means it starts roughly at 15, and it continues till 45 when there's menopause, and its creation of eggs stops. So it's 30. That means in her own whole lifetime, if you go by 20, it's not in fact 1 month. It is in fact 28 days a woman produces a single egg. So in her fertile life, a woman can produce at the most 300 to 350 eggs. Whereas man, I told you, is generous. He produces millions in a single ejaculation. So it happens. When sperms are deposited, and Quran's second phase starts from here. Quran says, Khalaqna min turab, which is now clear to us, first phase is over. Now, summa min nutfa, then we create it from a droplet. What's the droplet? There's a sperm droplet and a small droplet egg, which is in the body of produced in the women folk. And when sperms are deposited during sexual intercourse, sperms have power, what dimensions, suppose I told you, very, very minute, very, very microscopic. They start heading through vagina and then reach the uterus and go through uterine canal, because sperms are active. They have a long tail, which can, by lashing movements, they have the power to go up. Whereas it's not like egg, it's not motile. It only comes down by certain hair-like structures present within the fallopian tubes, which are just connected to uterus and which connected with the ovary. Every egg is produced, which by the pulsating movement of fallopian tubes slightly comes down, and whereas sperm make upward journey, there is union in the fallopian tubes. Sperm and egg fuse, fertilize, the egg is produced. So imagine, how can we describe all this? How can it be defined on physical levels without thinking about divine intervention and divine power? How is it? It's all by accident. That is what Quran asks us, poses a question. Not only this, when imagine as an egg is produced, egg fused with ovary, it fertilizes now. What happens immediately? Is it again a chance? Is it an accident? Immediately, and information is the fusion of, again, sperm takes place in fallopian tubes, right? But immediately a message is sent through hormones to uterus. Be ready. There's an egg. Prepare yourself for the reception of fertilizer, because you have to change it into baby. What starts is through hormones. That when egg fertilizes in fallopian tube, what happens? the uterine wall, which we call endometrium, starts accumulating blood, and it expands, it proliferates, just to receive. How is it? Who sends it message? Is everything just by the way, by accident? As we think about the so-called what we call about the creation of heavens and earth, Big Bang, was that like that accident? Is this also an accident? And when this fertilized egg comes down from fallopian tubes till it reaches the uterus, and uterine wall is ready to receive it, and it catches it, embeds it, which is called embedment. And a small placenta-like thing. And at that time, you imagine, what is the dimension of the fertilized egg? Even when it reaches uterus, it is of the size of pinhead size. And that, imagine, what is that pinhead? Don't underestimate it. Pinhead is you. It is you in pinhead. Because you are going to be created out of that pinhead, everything you have, your eyes, your nose, your head, your neurons, your kidneys, your heart. Where is that? That is in your size, girth, height, your color of your eyes, everything. That is in that pinhead. It is pinhead, it is you. So Quran says, think about how is it? Can it be a process of accident? And not only that, it is by accident when an egg is fertilized, right? Man can still have a go at a woman. Husband and wife can have still sexual relation after that. But there's a message, a strict message, computerized message sent to ovary. Now don't produce any egg. For 9 months, you don't produce any egg, because your work is done for at least 9 months, or even sometimes a couple of months more, 10 or 11 months. During that period, no egg is produced, because one egg has been only fertilized. Quran says, think about it, how it happens. And then it's of the size of pinhead. In it, whole our body exists. Everything what we have, internal, external, character or thinking powers, mental capabilities, physical strength, whatever you can imagine, that's in that pinhead. And it pinhead starts dividing. It divides into 2, then 4 cells. A single cell producing 2 cells, then 4, then 8, then 16, then 32, then 64, then 128, and then 256. It starts developing. This is called morula stage. It is shaped, partly unshaped. Even after 4 weeks of pregnancy, even after 4 weeks, that means 1 month. What was your size after that when your mother conceived you, or my mother conceived me? I was of the pinhead, and after 4 months, I was of the size half an inch. After 4 weeks, I was what? Half an inch. After 16, but the cells continues. It continues. After 8 weeks, that means after around 2 months, I am of the size of 3/4 of an inch. And in it, it is me, in fact. It's not anything else, it is me. Then it grows. After 16 weeks, 16 means roughly 4 months or less than that, 3.5 months or 4 months, this fetus is of the size of 5 inches. It's just 5 inches. That means just size of a finger. And it is this. And not only that, this fetus gets its nourishment from that small stalk-like structure or petiole-like structure, which connects the developing embryo or fetus with the uterine wall of the mother, connected with blood supply, and receives food and whatever nourishment it needs. Not only that, during that period, if there are babies now growing, it can also produce waste products. Imagine, the growing baby at prenatal stage, embryonic stage, also produce some waste products which are detrimental. Those waste products are deposited in the blood of the mother, so that she excretes it through urine or feces, whatever it is. What kind of process it is. And this develops to be, as we call it, shock absorbers. So this is, as Quran puts it, in chapter Al-Muminun, which I referred to just now, verse number 12 and followed by verse number 13. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. Certainly we create a man or human beings we create from the extract of soil, right? That's explained now. Number second says, ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ. Then we settle it in the safest place on earth. In the safest place, that is womb or uterus. And you know, this is also surprising. Nobody knew, because at the time of the Prophet, peace be on him, or as the revelation of Quran, there not even lens was, they didn't know what's lens. Lens was discovered by Galileo, is it? Around 1,000 years after the Prophet's time. Ordinary lens. Forget about microscopes and all that. At the time, Quran says, which these things are referred by, I don't want to give certificate to Quran. Quran doesn't need any certificate, just for our conception and our understanding. Even great embryologists of modern times, including one from Paris, whom we call Dr. Maurice Bucaille, he laid in detail light on this. He said, I was surprised and rather shocked by understanding all these details from Quran, embryonic stage. And in present-day world, we have Keith Elmore, a great expert on embryology and anatomy, who's chairman of the subject in Toronto University, whose books, The Developing Human, he says, what I found in Quran, it is surprising for me that these were the same details which I found, which were during my last 50 years of my personal research on embryology. So it is, to me, it is impossible to, which I got the year it was published. That's in late 80s. It was published from Toronto and Jeddah simultaneously. He says, among other things, he says not only Quran doesn't only talk about all the stages of embryonic development, like which Quran, Nutfa, then Alaka, then Mudga, then Izama, then Lahma in chapter this Al-Muminun. He said this was surprising to me, not only all the stages of embryonic developments are discussed in Quran, but surprisingly, sequence of events is the same as we find it today. So how did Muhammad, peace be upon him, know it? How come he knew it? That is first Nutfa, then Alaka, then Mudga, then Izama, then Lahma. This is not only all the stages being discussed in Quran, but the sequence of events is exactly the same what we know. And among other things, Quran talks about in chapter Az-Zumar. You should record this reference, you may need it, not for discussion or disputing with people, just learning as a learning process. In chapter Zumar, Az-Zumar, verse number 6. Where Quran says, يَخْلُقُكُمْ فِي بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ خَلْقًا مِنْ بَعْدِ خَلْقٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ ثَلَاثٍ. It is Allah who creates you, O humans. يَخْلُقُكُمْ فِي بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ, in the wombs of your mothers. خَلْقٍ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَلْقٍ, from one stage of creation to another, through systematically. فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ ثَلَاثٍ, under three veils of darkness, or under three covers. Even Keith Elmore discussed, he says, when I found this verse, and other verses too, I was shocked. How come? We didn't know it. We know it is the abdominal wall, we have here, is one wall, and another human being develops where? In the womb, in the uterus. And this other wall, who knew about the third wall? Nobody knew it. Now we know that it is not directly a baby is grown or an embryo develops in the wombs of mothers, in the uterus, but there is a small cowling point called amnion, which is filled with the fluid, amniotic fluid, which acts as I told you, just a shock absorber, so that the baby is at the safest place. Third layer was not known. It is just in the last century, beginning of the last century, it was known to humans that human babies develop within the wombs of their mothers under three covers, under three veils of darkness. That's what Quran says, chapter Az-Zumar. It's not just we are translating it to suit the modern time, modern sciences. You may consult a translation of Quran which was done by non-Muslims 100 years back. Consult those translations, see how they translate, because they can, at least they have distorted the picture of Quran, no doubt. But they cannot be so dishonest that they will prove their inefficiency by translating verses in the wrong way. They were experts of language also. This is what Quran says. Not then Quran says, فَإِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ then summa min nutfa, then a droplet, so insignificant your human eye cannot see it. Then it develops in the safest place, as in chapter Al-Mu'minun, the Qarari Makin, the safest place on earth. There's no equivalent to uterus. See this uterus, what is it? As I told you last time, perhaps too, while discussing it, you know the dimension of the uterus? Uterus is 2.5 inches long in length to 3 inches. Imagine, in which you are developed, you have been developed. Just 2.5 inches to 3 inches. See, with the growing baby, it expands. There's such an elasticity, such a flexibility that it expands, it is elasticity such that you grow, embryonic stage, this uterus also grows. Imagine how it develops, how the way it, min nutfa, this droplet, in suma min alaka, then cells start dividing, and it is a thing which clings, as I told you. This is something Maurice Bucaille talks, forget about him, I was not bothered about these people. I just, once some people ask me, why do you refer to them? I said, this is a normal course. For example, if I meet somebody, and it happens, and she starts praising my father. I thought, your father, what a great person, he was so pious. So as a son, I really feel proud. I really feel so elated. Was my father really so great that everybody is praising him? And similarly, dearest one to us is our prophet. If some person praises my prophet, shouldn't I feel elated and feel pleasure? And see, somebody would tell me, your father had to, I know, you are a young man, you don't know, I knew your father when he was just young. Once he told me like this, and that proved correct. Won't I feel happy? If similarly, somebody tells me your prophet said something 1400 years back, and now we have known it. There's no problem. There should be no problem in feeling, yes, really my prophet was great. It's that everybody around, experts praising him. So that is how it, Allah, the Quran says, he says, Maurice Bucaille, and then also Keith Almond, and we know it through our microscopes. We have now microscopes. We have now X-rays and gamma rays. We have USGs, ultrasounds. We have then CAT scans. These have become now obsolete. We have MRI, magnetic resonance imaging we have now. And that's also now a step ahead. We have got PET scans. And it is all those gadgets which make us understand all these things, which Quran explained 1400 years back, that once, as you knew it, I told you just now, sperms move up when they are ejaculated. Egg, by pulsating, not of its own action, moment, but by the pulsating moments of fallopian tube, walls of the pulse, it goes down. The immediate thing is that this fertilized egg clings or attaches itself to the internal wall of the uterus, which is called endometrium. Quran says it is alaka. Alaka means mu'allak. Alaka has 2 or 3 meanings in Arabic. Alaka means a thing, what we say in Urdu also, which is mu'allak, a thing that hangs or clings. And this is the immediate thing, fertilized egg clings to the wall of the uterus, is hanging and develops that way. Alaka also is a word used in Arabic for leeches. Leech, that worm we used to use in olden times, and now it is again being practiced. They said it used to suck the poisonous blood from the body. I too have observed it in my early childhood. I don't know how my parents or somebody got that, he's suffering some second problems. So, and those worm, what we call in local language, durk, we used to pay for it, for them, and they used to be put here or somewhere, and they would drink the blood out. It's like, Allah means. Incidentally, Keith Almond in his book, which I miss, I really feel sorry for that. Why didn't I get that book? He gives the picture that at this stage, this developing embryo resembles a leech also. Because leech also, when it is put here, it starts sucking blood, it is hanging. And structure is like worm-like, small earthworm. It is like small earthworm. And it is almost the same. Alaka. And from that alaka, then more surprising thing, then Quran said this alaka, when division of this embryo starts, marula and blastula, what call it, how we name it, cell. Then Quran said mudga, it is that stage, marula blastula stage. that mudga. Mudga means lump of flesh. But you know, actually in Arabic what mudga means? Mudga in fact means chewed flesh. That we take a piece of flesh and chew it in our mouth and throw it out. It is mudga. Surprisingly, how can we explain this thing? That at this stage, when we see the picture of this stage of human development, after alaka, when it started accumulating cells, a ball of cells, on this, we see as if this flesh, this false, mudga means false flesh, not true flesh, because Quran uses flesh, true flesh later. Let's say mudga, a false flesh and chewed flesh. There are markings of some teeth on this at this stage. It appears as if this piece of blood has been really chewed. There's indentation. It is in pictures and slides highlighted by a great embryologist of modern times, that's Professor Keith Elmore. He says, I can't explain it. I have no, how can I explain it? It appears as if it is chewed flesh, and it is not true flesh, of course. Mukhalakatin vagara mukhalaka, some formed and unformed, some shaped or unshaped. It's in transition period. There is yet what we call organogenesis has not started. Then it is formation from these cells. Some cells are reserved for the creation of hand, some for creation of your heart, and some cells out of this are differentiated to produce your kidneys. And some, is it all by accident? Or product that they develop, and there's constant, continuous process. Even mother not knowing what is happening inside me, passing from one stage to another. Then, as we see because these verses are directly connected to the verses explained in Surah Al-Muminun. Then, from Alaka, as I told you just now, that verse number 12 onwards, Quran explains in the Summa khalaqna nutfata alaka, fa khalaqna alaka, the mudgata, fa khalaqna mudgata izama. Then after sometimes, small bones like skeleton, primitive skeleton, starts coming out from this ball of flesh. Izama means bones. Fa kasabna izama lahma, lahma is true flesh, true muscles. Then all these bones are clothed with true flesh. That's what our muscles are all about. So these are different stages of embryonic developments explained in Quran. So Quran says, why explain all this? First, I repeated, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, in kuntum fi raibin min al-ba'th, if you are in any kind of doubt regarding resurrection, how you will be recreated, فَإِنَّ خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ, didn't we create you from dust? So why is it? This is one of the proofs Quran gives. That means after the infidels, non-believers, would mock at Prophet, peace be upon him, and the verse of Quran. How is it possible? When one human body will be degenerated, it will be mixed up with clay and soil. Bones degenerated to the pulp, nothing left. How can they be recreated? Quran says, if you are in any kind of doubt regarding that resurrection, see about your own creation. When I could create you, and I did create you, that part of you was in the oceans from drop of water which I brought through distillation process. Part of you was in the soil, in calcium, sulfur, aluminum, potassium, iron, or other forms. I collected that. Part of you was in the bellies of microorganisms, nitrogen fixing and nitrifying bacteria and protozoans. Part of you was high, 150 million kilometers away in this thermonuclear furnace sun, from which that a ray of light came here. A part of you was there in that. A part of you was scattered in atmosphere, carbon dioxide, which was assimilated by leaves. When I could create you by establishing all things, how come you say that you are dead, you are burnt, or you are cremated, or you are put under the soil? That God which could collect you from all these sources, is it difficult for him to recreate you? It's again this very great argument of Quran. Then it talks about embryology also. This argument has been repeated in Quran many times. We see in chapter Yasin, last verse of Surah Yasin. Awalam yaral insan, doesn't this disbeliever who challenged the Prophet or challenged the authority of God about recreation, How will we? Doesn't see we created him from a droplet. Now he's a full-grown human being. Now he's challenging us. He's threatening me. Who are you? God. Where is God? How can he? Now he's making mockery at me, giving examples. But simultaneously forgets his own initial creation. Qala, and boastfully, proudly says, who will recreate, who will give life back to these bones? They'll be broken and degenerated. Cool, O Prophet, don't you worry, tell them, that God will recreate them, who created them in the first instance when there was nothing like that. When he could create you out of nothing, how is it impossible for him to get big? Because he's aware of all the process of creation, death, and then recreation. He is every part and everything. Then Quran says, then we allow or settle this fetus, this embryo, in the wombs, manasha, for what about whom we wish. Otherwise, there's miscarriage sometimes. There's sometimes induced abortions or natural miscarriage. Ila ajali musamma, for the specific period of time. Summa nukhrijukum tifla. Then we bring you out as babies. How is it? At a specific time when you are ready. That means everything is complete. From head to tail, you are fit. Your heart is there working. Imagine heartbeats. Don't we check heartbeats in developing babies within wombs? Yes, we do. Heart beating, kidneys working in their, of course, in its primitive form. See the size of those. How blood circulating, eyes forming, ears, auditory system in this initial stage. And when it is ready, if it is ready, it is there. What makes it? Now you are ready, you have to come out. And some actions, some processes associated with the birth of baby, delivery of the baby start happening. And this full-grown baby comes to this world and opens eyes to this real, this world around us. Summa nukhrijukum tifla. Then we bring you out as babies and children. Summa litablugu ashuddakum. Then we nurture you till you attain maturity. You are mature, you are strong, you are young, you are full of health and force. But وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُتَوَفَّى, and some of you we caused to die before, during this period. وَمِنْكُمْ مَنْ يُرَدُ إِلَىٰ أَرْضِ الْأُمَرِ. And some of you we return to feeble old age or abject old age. What is it? لِكَيْ لَا يَعْلَمْ, that they know nothing. Min ba'di ilmin shay'a, after knowing everything. That this also, all the organs there, hands, feet, internal, interior organs, but at a specific age of time, the old man returning to the baby age, he forgot these things. He doesn't know. He doesn't know whether I have eaten my dinner or not, whether I have taken my medicine, asking for medicine which I had taken just a minute earlier. Sometimes arguing that I have not taken it, I have not taken it because I have already taken. He is being made to understand that you have not taken it. He forgets. What's it? This also, that it is all in the powers of Allah. Everything in this. We see such examples in the world around. We see the great Bollywood star who is called the tragedy king, who made others to talk, and whose dialogues will be source of inspiration. Our source of and will be source of inspiration for those actors and actresses for a long time to come. At specific age, forgetting his own self. Doesn't know where am I, who am I. If somebody asks him name, what's your name? He was not in a position to call that I'm basically Muhammad Yusuf. Now name some other thing. He didn't know his name. He didn't know this is my wife sitting on my left, right? And we see in our old society, sometimes a person asking, I have seen it with my own eyes, asking his own wife, what are you doing here? How come a woman coming to my room? She says, am I your wife? No, excuse me. Not in his own children or kith and kin. And we see people coming, and the neighbors and dears ask him, Yuzanhan, do you know this man? He's looking around with open eyes, forgetting everything. So this is the different phases of life. Quran says at that place, this we show you as science so that you take a clue from it. We take a lesson from it. What lesson is in it? That if you live to old age, you will also have to, maybe you have to face those situations. But that time, every person, though he may not be in a position to express himself, but in the hearts of hearts he thinks, if I would have been in a youthful age, everybody going for masjid, I would also go up to pray, but now I cannot. If I would have strength, I would have come out and helped somebody, now I cannot. Or do one thing, good job or other, or taking care of my kids, giving them proper education, moral as well as worldly education. But now it's not possible. Now I am at their mercy. He cannot do. There's a lesson, Quran says, lesson in it, that before that stage comes, take care of yourselves, so that you don't feel sad about yourself. You don't curse at that stage. You'll start cursing your own self. But nothing, that curse is not going to help you. Take care of yourself. So this is it in the nutshell. I have to explain this verse. But again, I say 2 stages. First phase is from seed till we go forward and we develop our body, grow, and then embryonic development. Because that's also from Turab. That since sperm and egg is the end product of what we get from soil. Everything in soil, and they mix, and then we start developing in wombs, right? We get food. Where from? Where from? From mother's blood. Where from mother's blood comes? From her diet. Where from diet comes? That's again from soil. Either directly through vegetable food or indirectly from non-veg food. So this from Turab, it's not only, that's why I've been telling you, don't think that only Adam was created out of soil, out of earth. It is everybody since then. And it is going to be everybody till doomsday. That all human beings, that's why Quran uses at times khalaqnakum, not khalaqnaka or khalaqna Adam, though it also talks about that. But at times, many places, khalaqnakum, we created you and we are creating you, min turab. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والحمد لله رب العالمين.